Hello everyone, welcome back to our channel Imaginary Engineering. This is Kirti. In this video we are going to see the Spring Security. In last video we have seen the user event endpoints and also we have seen how we can organize the API in Postman, and we tested all our endpoints. So start with the Spring Security. First I will explain the theory part and then we will start. So how does the Spring Security work? We can have the multiple controller, home controller, event controller, user controller. When client make a request, so how does Spring knows which request goes to which controller? So for that we have the front controller. Front controller decide which request goes to which controller. It keeps the mapping of every controller. Before request pass to the front controller, it execute the series of filter. So it's called a filter chain. Then decide if request is passed further or not. So Spring Security has its own filter: authentication filter, authorization filter, CORS filter, CSRF filter. So this authentication that identify the user, check if it is a valid user or not. Then next we have the authorization. Does the user have a right access? Does the user have the permission to access that resource? Then next we have the CORS, stand for cross origin resource sharing. In this, suppose front end and back end both are running on the different domain. Front end running on the 3000 and back end is running on the 5000. So backend REST API allow the AJAX call from the front end browser that enable the cross origin resource request. So this is the CORS, and then next we have the CSRF. CSRF stand for the cross site resource forgery. So what is the CSRF? By default, Spring Security provide a protection against this CSRF. When user login, the session ID is stored in browser, and next time if user visit any malicious website, it use the previous authentication login, use the session ID and make a request on behalf of the actual user and steal the data. So for that, to avoid this, Spring Security, we need to provide the CSRF token in header. It enables the CSRF protection for the update request, post, put, delete request. We need to pass the CSRF token in a request header. We will see this in practical. So next we have the form-based authentication. Spring Security by default enable this form-based authentication. It provides a login page, logout page. Here you can see this is our login page. User has to enter the username and password. It verify the username and password. If it is correct, user will successfully log in. And it start the session cookie. It save this JSession ID in browser. Here on the screen you can see this JSession ID. It stored in a browser as a cookie. And then next whenever user make a next request, along with the request it will send this JSession ID in a request header. This form-based authentication we will see first. So let's go to the VS Code. First we need to add a dependency security. So let's go to our pom.xml file. I will copy this dependency and paste. After this, change the artifact ID called as security. Now we have the Spring Boot starter security. I will remove the scope test and reload our maven file pom.xml. Now if I show you this controller, we have the event controller which start with /event, and we have the user controller which start with /user. Now if I go to the /event, we redirect to the login page. Here you can see I redirect to the login page. Same if I enter the /user, still I redirect to the login page. I have done nothing, just added the security dependency and this login form is open. Now by default username is user and password. Here we got the password from the console. I will copy and paste it here. Click on sign in. Here let me go to the /event. Here we get the response back. Now if I show you in cookies, let me go to the application and cookies. Here you can see we have this J session ID is stored here. Let me expand. Here you can see this J session ID is stored. Now I will go to this network tab and I will show you. If I refresh this page, then it will make this event request, and if I go to this request header, here you can see this, we send this J session ID in a header. Request header we will send this J session ID. So this is our form based authentication. We store the J session ID when user login, and we will send the J session ID along with the request. So next is this basic authentication. So in this basic authentication, username and password is converted into the base 64 encoded value. Here you can see in our basic auth header, here we pass the value which is actually the username and password, which converted into the base 64 encoded, followed with the keyword basic. But this basic authentication is not recommended in production because it has many flaws. Here you can see it does not contain the authorization information such as the user role, access role. If user is an admin or normal user, then this user does not have the expiry date. Like a JWT token, we have the expiry date. And most important thing is this value is easily decoded. We will get the username and password in a plain text, so any other user can use that password and login. I will show you this. So let's go to our Postman and check this basic authentication. Here is our GET request. If I click on the send, here we get the response 401 unauthorized. We need to pass the authorization. So let's go to the authorization tab. I will select the basic auth username. By default username is user and password we got from the console. I will copy this password and paste it here and click on the send. Now here we get the response 200. Okay, successful. Now inside the header, here you can see authorization header. Here we got this header basic and username and password base 64 encoded value. So I will copy this value and go to the browser. We will decode that value. So let me search base auth decode, basic auth decode. And I will paste it here. This is the base 64 decode online tool. Click on the base 64 decode, and here you can see we get the username and password in a plain text. Anyone can use this password, and you see how easy it is to decode that value. So this is not recommended to use in a production. So next we will see how we can authenticate the user from the database. Here we have the user table. Inside one user currently we have, and we store the password in plain text. We will see how we can store the hash password. So first I will explain the Spring security control flow so you will get a better idea. First, client make a request. It goes to the authentication filter. It executes the series of filter, so it's called a filter chain. Then request goes to the authentication manager, which is actually responsible for the authentication. Its job is to identify the authentication provider which we have used in our project. There can be the multiple authentication provider. It can be the JDBC authentication provider. It can be a LDAP authentication provider. So this authentication provider validates the user, identify the user. It uses the user detail service password encoder to validate the user. Once the user is validated, it returns back to the authentication manager, and then authentication manager return back to the authentication filter. Once the user is authenticated, that object is stored in a security context. Then when the next time user make a request, it goes to the authentication filter. Then it check in the security context. If user is already authenticated, request not further goes to the authentication manager. It return back to the user. It only sent to the authentication manager if user is not authenticated. So this is the basic overview of security control flow. Now we will start the implementation. So let's see. So first we will create the new folder config. This will be our config folder. Inside that I will create a file web security configuration. Till now we are using the default security configuration, but now we will implement our own configuration. So we will create a separate file for that. First I will add the annotation configuration. Now you know we have the method security filter chain. So let's override that method security filter chain. Let's call this method security filter chain. It accepts the one object HTTP security object. It will receive and it return the security filter chain object. So let me return this HTTP has be return the security filter chain object. Now this thrown the exception, so let's accept throws the exception. So basically here we are trying to customize our Spring security. Let me add a bin annotation. This bin is not imported, so let me import this bin. Currently we haven't configured anything, so all the requests are allowed. If we go to the browser and hit the /event, you can see there is no login page and we get the response back. So let me refresh it once again, and here you can see we get the event request header. There is no cookie, session ID is stored. Without login we are able to redirect. So let's add a configuration. So first I will do enable the CORS filter. Here is our CORS and I will say default customizer with default. Then I will disable the CSRF. I'm using the lambda expression. If you know about the lambda expression, I will suggest you watch the other videos. This CSRF has a method disable, so I will disable that CSRF. I will tell you later why I disable this. And this is the authorization HTTP request. Here we will authenticate all the requests, so we will say any request authenticated. So here we have make the CSRF disable, so no longer we need to maintain the session. We will make the HTTP stateless. So this is the session management. I'm using the lambda expression. This session has a method session creation policy. We will call that session creation policy and make a HTTP stateless. Now next I want to enable the form login. We are not using that form, but I will show you how to enable the form login. Customizer with default. Now let me rerun. Let's go to the browser. Here you can see this login form. If user is not authenticated, it will redirect to this login form. If I hit the /enter event, so we redirect to this login form. So this is how we can enable the form login, but I'm not using, so I'm removing this. I will add a HTTP basic, so we can test our API from the Postman and pass the customizer with default. So let me run this and go to the browser. Here this is the get request. Click on the send. Here we got the response 401 unauthenticated. So here we got a new password. So copy this, go to the Postman. Here I will paste it, click on send. Here we got a response 200. Now next we will check the post method, but before I will show you, this is the CSRF and this is the disable right now. Let's go back, select the post method, create a new event. Let me change the name booking, and authorization. We'll set the basic auth, give the password and username. 201 created, event has created. This CSRF is disabled. I'm comment out this line number 16, and now this CSRF is not disabled, and rerun the application. Here we got a new password. Copy this and come back to the Postman. I'm entering the new password and click on send. Here you see we get the response 401 unauthorized. Even though we have passed the username and password correct, still we get the unauthorized error. Same we will check for the get request. Here I will enter the new password and click on send. Here we get the response 200 successfully, but for the post method we are getting the error. Let's go to the post method and click on send. Here you see we get the unauthorized. This is because we have disabled earlier, we have disabled the CSRF. Now CSRF is enabled, so by default Spring provide the protection against the CSRF update request, post, delete, put. We need to pass the CSRF token in header whenever we make the post request. Here you see this Spring enable the CSRF protection for update request, post, put, delete. I will comment out this line number 16. We have done with the basic configuration. Now next we will see how we can authenticate the user from the database. So I will create a new folder, package first, call it security. Inside this security folder I will create a new file. Let's say custom user detail service. This is the class which implement the interface. Let me add a annotation service, and then this implement the interface user details service. This user detail service has one method. We need to implement that, which is the load user by username. If I show you, this is the user details service interface, which has the one method load user by username, and which return the object of user details. So first we get the user from the username. So we get the we need an object of user repository. So private user repository, add a annotation auto add. If I go to the user repository, here we don't have a method. So let's create a method to get the user info from the username. Our username is email. So let's go to the user repository and add a finder method, find by email, which will find the user by email and it receive the email as a parameter and return the user optional user object. So this is the finder method. We don't need to implement this method. Data GPA, add the equivalent SQL query for this. Select asterisk from table name, email equal to the email that user has been passed. Now here we use that method. So user repository, we have the find by email method. We will pass the username. Username is our email. If that username is not present, so we will throw the exception, username not found exception. And we store it in variable user. Let me import this user. Now we need object of this user details. This user details is interface. If you see, this is the user class which implement this user details interface. So this is the user class which has the property password, username, authorities for the user role. This is the user constructor. Here we will use this class to return the user details object. Copy this package name, go to our user details service. Here we return, this is our package where we have the user class. We set builder, set the username, password. We have the method username, and we pass the user dot get email. Email is our basically username. Let me, instead of you, let's say user dot get email, then password, user dot get password method. It will return the password. Now build. So we are done basically. Now here this will return the user details object. We set the user and password. So this is done. We go back to our web security config. Here we implement the method authentication manager. Earlier we are using the default authentication manager, but now we need it because we will use the DAO authentication provider. We will authenticate the user from database. So we need our own authentication manager object. Authentication manager, this is it will receive the object of authentication configuration, and we will return the config has the method get authentication manager. It will return the object of authentication manager. It throws the exception. So this is our authentication manager. Let me add a notation bean. Then second, we need a authentication provider. So let's implement the authentication provider. We are using the DAO authentication provider. So first we will create the object of DAO authentication provider. Now here we set the user details service. We have just created our custom user details service. So let's get the object of that auto add. Now here we have the user details service. We pass that object here to set the user details service. Now next is a set password encoder. If you see here, we have stored the plain password, but now we don't want to store any plain password anymore. We want to store the hash password. So it is very simple to store the hash password. Spring provide the bcrypt encoder, password encoder. So it's very easy to store the hash password. We have created the method and it will return the bcrypt password encoder. We just need to call that method here. It will encrypt the password and generate the hash, and then we will use that method to store the hash password. Here we return the DAO authentication provider. So we have implemented the authentication manager, then authentication provider, and also this bcrypt password encoder. Now we are done. So next I will go to our controller. I will create a new file, new controller called as a auth controller. We will implement here. Let me add first REST controller annotation. We will create the endpoint for the login and register. So this is our login method. Add a notation post mapping. This request body, what I will do, I will go to the entity and I will create a new class to login. For the login I will say auth model. Data for the getter setter, all argument constructor, and this auth model class contain the two property email and password that user has entered while login. So this is our class email and password. Actually we don't need that all argument constructor, so let me remove this on the getter method and this two property. So let's go back to our auth controller. Here we use this auth controller class that we have just created. So request body extract the data that user has sent in body and it bind with the auth model object. Okay, so next we need the object of authentication manager to authenticate the user while login. We validate the user and password that we have stored in our database. So this authentication manager has the method authenticate. It will use the filter username password authentication token. Here we need to pass the user and password to this username password authentication token. So let's pass the username, which is our email. So auth model return as the method get email, and then we pass the password. So it will validate the user. If username and password is correct, then it will be return the 200, otherwise it will return the 401 unauthenticated error. Let me add endpoint /login. Similarly, we will add a post request for the register. So create the method for the register. This will return the user object. Call it register. Let me import this user class. Request body bind with the user object. We already have the method to create a new user, so we will use that. First let me get the object of user service, add a annotation auto-wired. We already have the method to create user, so use that method create user. If you haven't watched my earlier videos, so I will request you to watch it. Then HTTP status created. Now we have implement the login and register endpoint and rerun the application. So here this is our user. Let me drop this table. Now let me drop this table, entire table. Now here we make the post request login. Click on send. We get the error 401 because if I go back with security config, here we say all the requests are authenticated, but we want to allow this login and register. So we'll say request matcher. If this match with the /login and register, please allow this to request. These two URL are not authenticated. Let me keep it in a second line. Yeah, so here basically we allow the /login and register, and all other requests are authenticated. Any request authenticated. Okay, now first let's create the new user, register the new user. So body, here I have passed the name, email, password. Click on send. New user has been created. If I show you in database, let me refresh. New user table has been created, and this is the record, but password is still saved in plain text. So something is wrong here. We forget to save the password in hash format. So first add the use that password encoder, auto add. Here we set the password before we save in database. The password encoder has a method encode, and we get the password from the user and then we convert into the hash, and then we will save the record, user record, in database. Here let me drop this table. Now we don't have any table. Rerun the application. We go back, click on send. Here new user has been created and you can see the password is now hash password we have saved. Let me save this endpoint, register, click on save. Now we will test the login. So login, password, email and password we will send, name we don't need. Click on send. Here we say 200 OK. If I change the password, if I enter the wrong password and click on send, then we get the error 401 unauthorized. Let me again send the right password. Now we get a 200 OK status. Let me save this endpoint also, login, click on save. So we authenticate the user from database. In our next video we will see the JWT token. When user login, we will return the JWT token. I hope you like this video, and if you did, if you learned something new, then don't forget to like, share and subscribe to the Imaginary Engineering. Thank you for watching.